and strategic measures of climate protection were elaborated in the working groups. 55 of these measures were chosen in the first action program, the Climate Protection Program 2010, which covers up measures for the time frame 2010 till 2012. The first program was submitted as Sustainable Energy Action Plan and has been accepted by the Covenant of the Mayor's Office. The Integrated Action Program of Climate Protection contains measures within 8 important fields of action. First, housing construction, energy-efficient construction in existing and in new buildings. Second, urban development, urban land use planning and landscape planning. Third, mobility and traffic. Fourth, energy efficiency in industry. Fifth, energy generation and energy distribution. Sixth, energy management in city-owned properties and infrastructure. Seventh, procurement of the city, company vehicles and business trips. And last but not least, awareness rising. Regular evaluation and updates of these municipal climate protection programs are mandatory in order to fulfill our targets. Therefore, the first update of the program was presented to the City Council in December 2012, half a year ago. Among others, further investments for the refurbishment of the municipal buildings with a total number of 47 million euros were approved by the City Council. In the long term, these investments will be amortized due to energy savings. The next update of our integrated action program will follow by the end of 2014. In order to engage the private sector, the City of Munich also founded the so-called Alliance Munich for Climate Protection. This alliance represents a network for the development and implementation of CO2 reduction projects of the private sector. It covered the key issues: energy production, energy efficiency, energy conservation, and last but not least, transport. For example, the following projects have been implemented under this alliance. For example, some projects we have implemented: energetic retrofitting of building stock, e-mobility, 100% renewable energy for the famous Oktoberfest, and construction of inner-city photovoltaic plants. These projects will achieve relevant short- and mid-term CO2 reductions. Now to the next questions. What are the most important goals for the change reachable by 2015?
Joachim, excuse my rudeness, but if I can interrupt you there, because on those questions we would like to go into further in a roundtable debate afterwards. What I want to do now is to try and limit all the interventions of the politicians to about 10 minutes. So if we can leave it there as that introduction, we'll go around now to the introduction of the other politicians.
Okay, I'm at the end.
In that case, please continue.
In 2 minutes.
In that case, please continue.
Okay. The most important goals, I make it very short, the most important goals are the building. The building reveals the most potential of the CO2 reduction. The second is conservation incentive programs. We have a so-called Förderprogramm Energieeinsparung. It exists since 1989 and has been increased to now 40 million euros annually to support citizens and housing companies to save energy. And the third I want to mention is more renewable energies. We have a target that our local utilities plan to produce enough green electricity by 2025. And the last I would mention is the engagement of the stakeholders. and also of the pupils. I think the pupils are the generation for the next 20, 30 years, and so it's very important to involve also our pupils in the city of Munich. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joachim, and apologies for my interruption there.
Yes, okay.
I was wondering how many pages has he got to go, but that was very good. Okay, so I've been given the task basically to control politicians, which is always fun, and what I'm asking is that for everybody in their intervention, in this first intervention, if you can limit to 10 minutes, I must be probably the first person who is here in his second day in Modena and already occupies the seat of the mayor of Modena. Give me a year in Italy and I would be your new president. But okay, I do, and I'm really dying to use this. There's this bell which the mayor of, I presume the mayor of Modena uses to shut people up when they talk too much. Yeah. So if you get to 10 minutes, I'm going to ring that bell as well, just because I feel like being powerful for one day. So now I'd like to ask Philippe Tostan to express his impression. Philippe.
Yes. So how can politics support a long-term vision, and which role plays the Imagine program in that sense? Well, I speak, of course, about what I feel in France, where I think that support a long-term vision is difficult for some state transition policies are late to be enforced or put forward, or yet to be endorsed by the national politicians. For instance, there is the current taxation system is not ecological, and a new ecological taxation system in place of the one that favors carbon consumption is late to be to be enforced. Or else, we in France translate in French all the European laws on environment and energy, but they are mainly or often displayed as constraints and not as good things that for the economy. In that sense, I felt that the Covenant of Mayors, as Joachim said, and the program of Imagine, which is a sort of practical training of the Covenant of Mayors, emerged where Europe and cities are allies in a long-term vision, whereas my state, for instance, in charge of economy, has a more short-term vision. And so there are 5 ways that we experiment in the Imagine program to put into action this long-term vision. First way is, as it was said, to be exemplary, for instance, for the refurbishment of municipal buildings. The second way is to empower ourselves on some competencies that we don't really have. Well, I don't know the case of other countries, but in France, for instance, the grid, the networks of energy are supposedly owned by the municipalities, but in fact, the major big national companies have a monopoly upon that. And so progressively we take over and we take our competencies because of our political will. And even if it's not, we don't have the means, legal means completely. The third way is, as we saw it yesterday with the schools, with the youngsters, it's this to make the vision emerge from the society. It means for the municipalities, in fact, to be empowered by the people. So if you, municipal council of Modena, cannot make a competition with what will be the city of tomorrow, well, the youngsters can, and they are legitimate to do it. So this was very, this is very interesting. I did not make it, the youngsters made it. So to be empowered by the people. Well, in the same sense, imitate others' experience is very interesting. Well, I speak to my mayor, Mrs. Mayor. I did not think that, but Modena or Munich did it, so we have to do the same. And last of all, which is more local, at the same time as we unite here to make new goals emerge, we locally have to unite and cooperate locally between close neighboring cities to make things alive. Well, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Philippe. And now I'd like to pass the word to Simona Arletti, who, if you don't know, those local people, is the representative of the city of Modena here, so that she can express her opinion. I will not be interrupting Simona because she is our host. She's being a very gracious host, and I like to treat my hosts well because they treat me well.
Thank you.
I will speak in Italian so that I will be able to involve also the public who don't speak Italian. I started by focusing my intervention on strategic goals that are within our choice to be part of the mayor's covenant. But I would like to refer to some of the issues that emerged yesterday. So this morning, very early, I wrote down 10 definitions of a sustainable city for the year 2050, and I want to share it with you. Imagining the city of Modena for the year 2050 is not just a matter of exercising my fantasy. To imagine my city and the strategic goals on which guidelines on which we have to work is very easy, because I know that the future will be shaped by the choice that we take today. I want to imagine, I don't even want to imagine how London, Madrid or Paris would be now if tens of years ago authorities decided to use the underground as a means of transport in the city. So it is very important to plan today the cities of the future. In 2011 we approved in the Municipal Council the plan of action for sustainable energy that has 4 choices: an efficient city, a city with a better transportation, a solar city with diffused energy, and an inclusive city that grows in a sustainable way. During the discussion, we maybe will find the time to analyze these 4 guidelines of intervention on our city of Modena. I would like to talk on the basis of what I heard yesterday here, because I identify some strategic choices that I would like to discuss with you as partners. The first point that emerged yesterday in our discussion was that a sustainable city is also an healthy city. We talked about the network of healthy cities of the WHO, and what does an healthy city does is to promote active ways of life, healthy food with local products, and it produces equity in access to health and prevention. As far as healthcare is concerned, the second point that we shared and discussed yesterday is that a sustainable city has to be a smart city that promotes sharing. This is a concept that I think we should share. The city of the future is not a city where everybody owns their car or their home or the job or a single photovoltaic panel, but it has to be a house, for example, that can be organized with shared services. A job, for example, that can be shared with other people. A car that can be shared during the week or during the day with other people. An energy production that can be used also by other actors. Therefore, sharing becomes the basic modus vivendi of this new way of life. The third point is that a sustainable city has to promote the participation of the citizens in the choices, environmental choices first of all, but also health choices. That is the most basic actions for the quality of life of the citizens that don't have to be top down, but they have to become bottom up. So I would like to talk about the civic empowerment, which in my view is a fundamental point of the new sustainable city. A sustainable city is also a resilient city. I think that recently we all experienced what is happening to climate. So we have to take actions to reduce carbon dioxide, but also we have to be able to equip citizens and cities in order to resist to these very strong climatic changes. I'm thinking about what has been done with the heat waves, the maps that we draw of our city, of all the fragile elderly people that allows us to know exactly where these people are, to get in touch with them, to check on the health situation of the elderly people during the heat waves, and eventually to take action. A sustainable city doesn't waste the food, energy, and time. In my view, this is a very important point. In the sustainable city of the future, I think that public services have to be redesigned so that people don't have to move around. Technologies have to be exploited so that information and services are accessible for the citizen in a very transparent and open way, in a very inclusive way. A sustainable city has to have water, energy, transportation, public lighting networks that have to be efficient and spare money, so that citizens will be able to get to the fundamental resources such as energy, water, heat, and they can do so without any waste. A sustainable city, according to what we said yesterday and to what we are going to share this afternoon, has to create public places in order to encourage social relationships, cultural cultural exchange and relations which are based on the sharing of spaces such as parks or squares. Therefore, we have to favor the possibility of people to meet and improve the social aspect of sociability. There is also an economic side to this. So beyond the topics of sparing money, there is also another important topic that I wish to underline. A sustainable city has to find new forms of financing to support its choices. In Italy, in the Italian cities, we have a very serious problem, maybe a little harsher than other cities in Europe. We have a complete block as far as innovation is concerned. Every time that innovation requires some financing. So it is important that cities are equipped with political tools, both at local and national level, so that they can find financing channels. So we have to find a way to tap private fundings for public use. A sustainable city invests on education. Of course, yesterday we talked about university education, training, but we also have to take into consideration the citizen education. If we want to talk about passive housing, for example, these houses have to be designed by the architects, built by the workers, but they have also to be experienced by the citizens. So in this case, education has three aspects that we have to take into consideration in order to root innovation. So these are the 10 definitions, the 10 stimuli that I would like to discuss with you in order to build a decalogue of the sustainable city. Thank you very much to Simona. I would like to say that
I've just realized now that my microphone wasn't on, which is a pity because what I was said there was brilliant. But anyway, if you didn't hear it, what I was saying is that the three interventions up until now have been very interesting. Yesterday I was extremely excited by the presentation by one of your colleagues of the città. And the question of the projects, of the programs of the World Health Organization, I also think is a wonderful example coming from an academic background. I think that's a fantastic example. And it's nice to see that something which we witnessed when we were in Munich, and I had the pleasure of being in Munich, something which I'm witnessing here is Modena as well, is this very global vision, very, very global view of what is sustainability. And the fact that I think many cities do forget that health equals economic welfare as well, and at the same time that contributes, as you said very correctly, that the social atmosphere, the socialization of a city also contributes to a sustainable city. So I think that's a very interesting factor which isn't often discussed, especially, for example, in the European Commission. My next speaker, this is the seat of power, sorry. The next speaker is Jeremy Draper from Milton Keynes, okay, an Englishman like myself who will now explain that perspective from there.
Do you want me to do my presentation or just a quick message?
You have 10 minutes. You can give us as much as you wish.
Okay. That's the one. Okay, I'm not an elected member, but I do have a message from the leader of our council, which I'll come on to next. I'll just explain where we are. I'm from Milton Keynes, which is a new city. It's around 60 kilometres north of London, and it is, 40 years ago, it was green fields, there was nothing there, and there's now a city with 250,000 inhabitants, which is still growing. So by 2050, it could be 500,000. And the other thing I have to say, it's not a typical United Kingdom city in that it is planned from day one. It's on a grid system, so it's not winding roads, which are very familiar for most UK cities. The city has a history of innovation and firsts and leadership in environmental design. And going back to 1972, it had the first solar-powered house in the UK. It had the first door-to-door household recycling scheme. And it had the first policy in the UK that required carbon-neutral development in new developments in the city. And if developers weren't able to do that, they had to pay a contribution to a local carbon offset fund, which helped the energy performance of other buildings and houses in the city. Next slide. This is the message. Oh, we've gone one too far. Back one. That's it. Okay, this is the message from the leader of my council. I'll just read it out as he's given it to me, so I have to read it out. On behalf of the elected members of Milton Keynes Council, I send you all greetings from the city of Milton Keynes in the UK. Energy in a city is more than heat and light. It keeps a city alive and growing with the confidence to create a thriving local economy that gives high employment and happy citizens. The Imagine 2050 project is an opportunity for city leaders to hear the views of their community and understand their aspirations for the future of their city. Milton Keynes is a modern city and embraces the challenges of the future, seeking to be a pathfinder for sustainable communities over the coming decades. And I might add, the next steering group for the Imagine project will be in Milton Keynes in September, and I will be proud, this is Andrew Geary, we'll be proud to show the city to the Imagine team. I'll be proud to show the city to the team as well. And that's the Councillor Andrew Geary, who is the leader of Milton Keynes Council. Next. Okay. In Milton Keynes, we already have 2 policy documents that were required under the Covenant of Mayors process as we're signatories. And we have 2 approved policies and strategies to reduce carbon emissions by 40% in the city against a 2005 baseline. Oops, that's what's causing the problem. The UK national government has a target of 80% carbon emissions reductions by 2050, but so far national government hasn't indicated how local government should meet these targets locally. And that's why the Imagine 2050 project is so important to us, by preparing citizens for new ideas, for living sustainably, and meeting the challenges of the future where energy isn't a throwaway commodity, it's a valuable resource. Next slide. This is how we envisaged Milton Keynes would be, a smart city. And this picture was drawn up about 4 or 5 years ago. And at the time we thought, wow, this is wonderful. But in practice, almost every one of the schemes on that sheet, the electric vehicles, the combined heat and power, very energy efficient houses, waste to energy plants, wind power, photovoltaics, that has all come into existence. And this view of Milton Keynes as a smart city is now looking dated. So the idea of looking even further for Milton Keynes 2050 is important. Next slide, please. I think it's just quickly worth mentioning the actual projects that we have in the city at the moment. The Thinking Energy Project, Falcon, which stands for Flexible Networks in a Low Carbon, I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but we also have electric vehicles, energy from waste, combined heat and power. You can read the projects there that we have. Next slide. I'm conscious of my 10 minutes. I think it's worth mentioning the Thinking Energy Project in detail because this is a project that is being carried out on 50 volunteer households in Milton Keynes, where a major electricity company, E.ON, is paying for the upgrading of volunteer households to the absolute state-of-the-art of energy-efficient household appliances, solar panels on the roofs, smart energy controls for everything, apps that can control your washing machine and your fridge or your heating, your lighting, and even having electric vehicles. So they've provided, I think it's around 30 Nissan Leafs to the lucky volunteer households for a year. And the idea is to understand how citizens actually respond to the availability of all this technology. Something that is becoming fashionable is the Internet of Small Things. And the idea of this project is every device in the house will be connected to the internet somehow. All the lighting, the fridges, the washing machines, even the car. The car can be used as an energy, not just an energy using device, but can also be an energy store. So the solar panels on the roof, if the car is in the house, the solar panels can charge up the car, and then in the evening the car can power the house. So an electric car is not just a vehicle for getting from A to B, but is a resource. Most vehicles spend 80–90% of their life sitting in a garage. Why not make use of it for the rest of the time? Okay, next slide. Again, transport initiatives in the city. I've mentioned electric cars. We have over 200 charging points in the city centre right now. And they provide not just free electricity at the moment for citizens, but they also provide free parking, which is very valuable. And there's that convenience of having a vehicle that is always fully charged. The ambition in the next 2 years is to increase that number of charging stations in the city to 2,000. So it's an order of magnitude increase. We also have these other policies. Small vehicle transport system, which is where rather than having big buses going around the city, which only have 4 or 5 people in them, you will be able to use your smartphone to ask for a bus to come and pick you up and take you where you want to go. And on the way, it will pick up 3 or 4 other passengers, 4 or 5 other passengers, and take them where they want to go. So it's a hybrid between a conventional bus route and a taxi. That's a trial. We also have electric bus trials. I don't want to talk too much about electric buses because I see you already have electric buses here, so we're just catching up. Another area on the top right of the slide there is redways. That probably doesn't mean anything to you, but in Milton Keynes, the redway system is a system of dedicated cycleways. And for cyclists can get from anywhere, from any point in the city to another point in the city via this network of cycle routes without crossing any roads, traffic. There are underpasses and overpasses. Next slide, please. We also encourage local energy solutions. As you can see there, photovoltaics that we actually have. They were commissioned last year. An anaerobic digester, which takes municipal household waste, kitchen waste, food waste, and produces biogas. The biogas will be used to produce electricity and to power municipal vehicles. So it's a virtuous circle of a waste product becoming a resource. We also have a city centre combined heat and power, CHP plant, which has been active for 8 years, and we're now at the stage of thinking of increasing that using the heat from the energy from waste plant, which you can see isn't due to be ready until 2016, but it's already gone through planning stages and the finance is in place. Next slide, please. We're also actively looking at how to make a city smart, in that I mentioned the Internet of Small Things, where everything talks to everything else, and that relies on a backbone in the city of a smart information infrastructure, whether it's wired or wireless, and it will allow information to be gathered from households, businesses, and to be used to make businesses more efficient, to make health services more efficient, to make transport more efficient. And this is a key technology for any smart city. Next slide, please. So to sum up where Imagine 2050 sits in the Council's thinking and its political thinking, is that it is a means of directly engaging with our citizens to generate a long-term policy and strategy that politicians can feel has some legitimacy within their city, to encourage debates on these issues. And it's been mentioned that youngsters are very important in this debate, and that's a resource that we have been using in our community engagement processes. And it's also important to say that politicians do need to be involved in this process at a very early stage. It's no good for officers like me to generate wild policies that I think should be carried out and then say to a politician, there you go. So to sum up, and I'll use this city's motto, which is Avia Pervia. The way is hard, but it's worth going there because the rewards are great. Okay? Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. And it's good to know that you're proud to invite us to Milton Keynes as well. I was getting a bit worried that I was always going to make a politically incorrect statement there, but that's very good. Thank you very much. And now, finally, to our final political representative today, to Adriana Stilas, I hope I pronounced the surname correctly, from Bistrița in Romania, okay, to explain their experience and their approach.
My name is Adriana Staluș. I'm a functionary of Department of Energy of City of Bistrița. My presentation one moment. Okay. Local brand Bistrița, the gate of Transylvania. Bistrița is a modern burg, make capital out of its historical potential and turn it from a traditional burg into a modern city by promoting historical heritage, with the use of the modern means and mechanism. Bistrița, competitive municipality, European municipality, give value of the commercial history of the city and turn it from the city placed in the shadow of the neighboring poles to a visible and competitive city. This is the result of the development in the local economy and the increase the quality of life, and also by being a commercial and niche production ground work at a regional level. In the future of development, in 2030, Bistrița will be most modern burg in Transylvania, with a competitive and innovative economy that puts value on the area sources. It will be very attractive for the tourists who are seeking the treasures of the past, but also for investors who capitalize on the presented opportunity. The residents will be kept attached to their community and will be also actively involved in its development with the help of leaders capable to respond to change, who will be also responsibly engaged in building the future. A summary for my presentation, and now vision of 2050. Bistrița's long-term vision is to become, until 2050, a city that uses energy wisely, capable of having a low energy consumption while also having a high quality of life at the same time. Bistrița is a 15th city in Romania which joined the European Initiative Covenant of Mayors on 29 October 2009 on the decision of Council number 2007 on accession to the European Commission Municipality Covenant of Mayors. Bistrița aims to reduce CO2 emission by 20% until 2020 compared to the chosen reference year 2008 by having efficient energetic action. Also, according to the commitment assumed by signing the convention, Bistrița adopted its own sustainable energy action plan by decision of Local Council number 79 in 26 May 2011, in the Bureau of European Technical Covenant of Mayors in June 2011, the date from which SEAP is published on the official European Convention site. Sustainable Energy Action Plan is a key document that describes how the local government will achieve its target of reducing CO2 emissions by 2020 across its administrative expansion on the following key areas: buildings, public lighting, transports, local energy production from the renewable sources. Sustainable Energy Action Plan contains 88 measures that are to be put in place until 2020, which the final target is reducing CO2 emission by 20%. Measure and action. The main for application is buildings and public lighting, transport, local energy production for renewable sources, territory planning, public information and awareness, involvement of stakeholders, district heating, district cooling, heat and energy combined cogeneration, goods and service public procurement. In addition, there is considerable potential and opportunity to get even further reduction in energy consumption and CO2 emission by adopting a broad spectrum of so-called smart technology expected to reach market maturity in the near future. Within the City Sustainable Energy Action Plan, an important point is the reduction of the CO2 emission by 1.5% per year as a result of increased energy efficiency of the installation providing heat for the buildings and hot domestic water, and reduction by 0.5% per year of the conventional energy consumption in school buildings. Already enacted measures are the rehabilitation and insulation of several municipal buildings, as well as the installation of heating system and insulation measure in most schools. The rehabilitation of multi-residential buildings is currently in course, and energy audits have already been completed in all these buildings. As a next step, expertise and refurbishment will follow. Major measure to be implemented is insulated buildings and restoration of the facades of the pedestrian area of the historical center. Cost for this measure is 96.5 million euro. First measure is insulated buildings, thermal rehabilitation of 485 blocks of flats, 95% Bistrica's total housing built before 1990, with the help of the National Program for the Thermal Rehabilitation. Deadline before 2020, responsible technical department, stage under implementation. Before 2012, the works were completed for 24 apartment buildings, through of the National Program for Thermal Rehabilitation, cost being supported by central budget 50%, local budget 45%, and population 15%. In 2012, the Ministry of Regional Development and Public Administration starts the Regional Operation Program, which supports investment in energy efficiency of residential buildings. The funding program is made of 60% from the European Community, 20% from the local budget, and 20% from the population. For 2014, Bistrica has developed technical project for 1,400 apartments, a total investment of 8.5 million euro that will be done. A picture with insulated building. And the second measure is restoration of the facades of the pedestrian area of the historical center. Restoration for the facades of historic buildings and rehabilitation of their heating system will be achieved in the 2014 and 2020 period for around 100 houses from the historic zone built before 1900 period using local budget and the owner funds. The result of these two measures is implementing this project until 2020 will give the great benefit to the population, such as facade rehabilitation will lead to a new and a modern aesthetics, heating cost will decrease by 50%. CO2 emission will be reduced by 27,000 tons. Picture of the facades and pedestrian area of the historical center next. And a new project is Bistrița Green City. This project contains two measures, reconstruction of municipal park and Boulevard forest. Will represent development of 38 hectares of green area for the citizens of the city. First project is reconstruction of municipal park. Area is 6.8 hectares, will be restored by regional operation program and European funding program that worth 2 million euros. Works will include reconversing paths, arranging cycling, buildings, a plant maze, upgrading the lighting system, upgrading street furniture, making grassy paths, creation of a body of water. A second is reconstruction of Boulevard forest. Area is 31 hectares of forest will be restored by regional operating program and European funding program that worth 1.2 million euro. Works will include resizing access road, main road, side alley, cycling tracks, maze, sports land, paintball land, skate land, and the scene, playground, picnic area, mini golf or other option, parking, bathroom, field side points, playground with strings, picnic area. Awareness and local networking. Dissemination of Bistrița municipality action targeting the Sustainable Energy Action Plan. Deadline before 2020, responsible European Integration Department. Implementation stage, 2011-2012 European campaign display and engage. Contents, Bistrița Green City, Bistrița Clean City. Contest, Bistrița Romanian Art Hour 2012 edition. And the Bistrița is a winner. Choosing Bistrița municipality of the ambassador of Covenant of Mayor in Romanian signatories. And the conclusion is target for 2020 is 20% reduction in CO2 emission, and target for 2050 is 50% reduction in CO2 emission. And a picture of the Bistrița today. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian, for that very interesting and very complete presentation. Excuse the bell, but I was dying to be able to use it at least once in one speech, but thank you very much. Okay, now's fun time. This is the bit which I'm going to enjoy, because now I can play devil's advocate, and we can torture just a little bit the representatives of the cities who have spoken and make themselves defend. What happens very often in this type of conferences, and once every week at least, or maybe sometimes 2 days a week, I'm traveling all over Europe, sometimes the world. In conferences such as this, people give very beautiful presentations, but they often try to avoid the realities of their city. So the first question which I want to open to anyone, and if you want to speak, all you have to do is raise your hand. And that can also go for a member of the people here, okay? but try and make your answers brief so that everybody has a chance to express their opinion. The first question I have is the following. I was a leader of the Imagine project in Figueres at the time. I made efforts in that time a long time ago, so long time ago that I actually used to have to go to the hairdressers. So I mean, we're talking at a historic moment there. And what I want, my question is very simple, is how aware really are the citizens of your city of the fact that you are involved in the Imagine project? If I go into the streets now, for example, of Modena, and I say to them, I'm here because of the Imagine, are they going to give me 2 kisses and say, oh, fantastic? Or are they going to say to me, you're here for what? Okay, if I go to Bistrița, or Milton Keynes, or to Munich, and I say the same thing, or to Lille, are people going to know on the street what Imagine is, or are they going to have no idea whatsoever? Honest answers, please. I open the floor to your answers. Yes, Jeremy.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. My answer is no. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's great. That's the best. You get an extra coffee for being brief and for being honest. Well done. Philippe, Adrian, Laurent, Joaquin, Simona. Be careful, Simona, because your citizens we can test.
Se devo essere sincera, credo che alla parola Imagine mi risponderebbero che sanno essere una canzone dei Beatles.
All right, another very honest answer.
Anche se gli sforzi per coinvolgere i cittadini, come ho mostrato ieri nelle slide della mia presentazione, sono stati diversi, quindi abbiamo fatto un happening in piazza dove chiamavamo le persone a registrare le loro idee sulla Modena del futuro, e quindi in quell'occasione, come in altre, anche oggi stesso, vengono in contatto con il progetto, ma insomma convincere 186.000 persone che il progetto Imagine è importante non è facile.
No, it's not easy to get to 180,000 people, I understand that. Actually, it was a very good example of something which I think is the core of Imagine, was that yesterday we had the real pleasure of seeing these children receiving prizes for using their imagination, really never better said, using their imagination. And also for those of us who are from Spain, I know that we were particularly surprised at just how good the children were at explaining in public their ideas as well. So I think you have a lot of future politicians being prepared here in Modena in the schools, but they were very, very good. Other cities, Joaquin.
As Jeremy said, I also have to say no, but with a little bit distinction. There are some enterprises we are working together. For example, the enterprise Green City Energy, who is engaged in the implementation of photovoltaic plants, or some NGOs we are working together. They know the name Imagine, but it's concentrated to some persons and to some enterprises in the city.
Okay. Adrian,
It's very difficult. The schools and is stimulated by the gift, but the citizen is not convinced because the measure, the cost of this measure is big, and the model of the implementation is difficult because the budget of the population is low, and the economic it's collapse in 28, and now is difficult, and taxes is major from the form, and is not attractive for him.
Okay. These are very honest answers, which I appreciate, I must admit. This won't go, this is only between us, the public television, and everybody else who I'm going to tell in the rest of the world, so don't panic. Jeremy, you wanted to add something apart from the word no?
Yes, I was going to qualify my short answer by a slightly longer answer. Our IMAGINE seminars, as I mentioned in my presentation, have representatives of the youth parliament in Milton Keynes. As well as the adults, we have youth parliament. And it's been clear in our sessions that they are very excited by it. And my answer of no probably referred to the older population within the city, everybody above 16 or 17.
Now I can exercise my right as being chairman of this meeting. Surely, let me interrupt you and come back to the question with you that youth parliament is all very nice and it's all very hippie, but does it work? Is it, I mean, for example, I mean, you know, why don't we just get into the Boy Scouts as well?
Well, that's a valid thing, but your original question, if I can go back to that, was would people on the street know about IMAGINE?
Yeah.
And I was going to go on to say that our conventional methods of disseminating the information through press releases and people reading the paper have been met with a resounding silence.
Yeah.
But the members of the Youth Parliament have used social media themselves independently on Facebook and Twitter, and there has been some penetration of those ideas into their friends and colleagues at school. It may be that they want to show off that they've been part of that process, but it's still penetration into the consciousness of the citizens or the future voters as those elected politicians might want to take note of.
Philippe, do you want to add something to this?
Yes. Well, for the people, this program is part of the sustainable development policies of the city. So the question should be, well, the question is good, of course. But
My questions are always good, Philippe.
Yeah, of course. But well, a scientific approach would be what percentage of the population is conscious of that compared to what it was 10 years ago? So, well, we don't have this polls in Lille. So what is significant? What I think is that there is it's part of the sustainable development policy that people feel it in Lille, and now we are going to have our elections in one year, and so for 6 years I've always tried to know what the people thought, of course, but well, in this year I really speak more with people, and so I see that they have a conscience of things that have developed for the 10 or 12 last years in that sense. But of course they don't excuse me, energy cities, but they don't say it's thanks to IMAGINE from energy cities. Then the second thing is that the energy is still an abstract thing, and it will be. Well, I don't know, but all our task here is to make it concrete. That at the same time that we don't want it to be missing, but at the time that it could be missing. So, but at the same time now it's not really limited. It's flowing, and everybody knows that. One achievement of this society is to have energy flowing from the plug, from the pump, from everywhere. That it's not something. It's not wood you cut, coal you you take and so you carry and so on. So you have to express that it is limited, and so it's really something precious. And so on the other sense, they know the only conscience of it is that you have to be moderate, to limit it, to be that the municipality must be sparing it, and so the conscience is integrated of the conscience of good management of public service. So that's just that. And
okay.
then last thing, of course, it depends on the communication of the city, and in that sense, I think. Maybe if I was the mayor, I would not speak the same, but I think that in our cities in France, the communication of the city is mostly propaganda for the mayor, and not publicity for the public service. And I dream of that really we promote the public service as the private firms do.
Okay, just I think it's necessary to mention as well that we are today. This debate is being streamed at this very moment as we're talking. So there are citizens there who are probably watching you and thinking, or yes, he's right, or no, he's wrong. I'm going to continue being the devil's advocate because. And this is a thought which I'm just going to throw out, basically, that it's not due to Imagine, it's due to the global consciousness of the climate change. I don't want to put into doubt Imagine because I've been one of its most fervent supporters since 2007, but definitely it's become politically correct for local politicians to say we are a climate change city. But that is thanks as well to a global appreciation. Because, as I've often said, climate change is politically very sexy. And it also can be a very cheap, very quick way of a local politician becoming popular, or at least trying to appear to be politically correct, even though he may not be. My next question, then, let's get into brass tacks. Let's get into some details with the cities who we have here present. With regards to Imagine, you are supposed to create a roadmap. When you're creating this roadmap, how do you present it afterwards? When you have created your roadmap of your actions, how do you present that to your general public? And also, is it approved by your city council? Is it approved formally? Or is that something that happens within the Department of the Environment or the relevant department within your municipality? So, getting down to practicalities, how do you do that? Simona, how, for example, here in Modena, is the roadmap, once it's been created, how is that presented publicly? And also, how do you guarantee that continuation?
La prosecuzione. We haven't decided yet if we want to pass our roadmap in the city council or with the councillors. In any case, we will have an institutional approval, so it will not be just a technical document, but it will be approved by an institutional body. And since we will have to do the checklist of all the actions of the SEAP linked with the Covenant of Mayors, that will be an occasion to introduce the discussion on the Imagine roadmap in the discussion in the municipality. As far as the citizens are concerned, it's still an open debate on how to reach them. As we said, our traditional methods are not enough anymore. I agree on that. it is quite demanding to try to understand which are the most efficient tools that we could use. I think that we should try all of them, starting from the meetings, face-to-face meetings with the citizens, the use of new social media such as Facebook and Twitter, by using the website of Modena Municipality that is read by thousands of citizens that can have direct access to the information on our activities, and also most traditional tools such as press and television. So there are different channels, and I think we should experience all of them. The other channel that we experimented yesterday, involving school, is also an occasion to increase the debate both on the schools that participated in our competition Energicamente and in the other schools that did not participate in our program.
How do you present your Imagine project, your roadmap?
In Munich, the City Council decided about the first draft of our roadmap. Then we went into a discussion with the NGOs and with active enterprises of our city, and these people have had the chance to make proposals for the next decision of the City Council. And we have had the opportunity and the possibility to involve some proposals of the open discussion. And after that work, the City Council decided about the roadmap.
Other cities, examples. Jeremy?
Okay.
Although you're not, I understand that you're not a politician.
No.
However, whatever happens, whatever decides the politician, you're very much affected.
The politicians ask us what the citizens want, I suppose, and as an officer, and the Imagine 2050 project is a way of presenting the politicians with a document which has the legitimacy of some public engagement behind it. What the actual document would be, you've actually seen an early version of it, which was the policy and strategy documents for 2020. We see the 2050 local energy roadmap as an updated version of these existing documents. And it will account for some of the technological, social and financial changes that have occurred in the last 10 years since the previous documents were put together.
Adriano, Philippe?
For many politicians, the implementation of this program is a dream, but the other politician is a key of development. Complementary, Council adopt a strategy of development in 2012 for development 2010 to 2030. And this measure is complementary. In every year, for the adopted budget, this measure is priority, and other stay to him. And principal action is local forum for Imagine and complementary campaign display and engage, and little action with Bistrica Green City, Bistrica Clean City, and politician not participate, but the local stakeholder, he participate of this program. It's okay.
Yes, okay.
I have a question to the other colleagues.
Yeah.
We also involved, for example, the Chamber of Commerce to discuss the roadmap. And it's not always easy to discuss the climate change with the Chamber of Commerce. I would be interesting, how is a discussion in the other cities?
So, the question from Munich is, how can you convince private business, basically, to get on board with your politics? Is that an easy process or not? Is that an easy process in Modena? Be careful, you're in Modena.
Yes. No, non è un processo.
No, it's not an easy process. Usually in our roundtables we tend to call the associations of categories, not directly the Chamber of Commerce, we call the associations of artisans, of tradespeople. We have more than one, so they have different political approach to these topics. We try to involve all of them. The Chamber of Commerce usually is involved only in some occasions. It's a sort of higher level, so I admit that the Chamber of Commerce for us is a partner just in the case of the financial policies of the city, because they have a wider scope that affects the whole province of Modena. So in order to involve companies, we involve their association. The same we do with the trade unions and the workers.
Sectorial interest is a deep and interesting one, but it's politically very necessary to address those problems. Philippe, for example, in Lille, what is your relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and other sectorial interests?
Well, I did not answer globally, so I will make it. But I just wanted first to make a detour by the functioning itself of our municipality, because it's a coalition between the Socialist Party, which is the main, which has 80% of the municipality, and the ecologists to whom I belong, so we are 20%. And in fact, this coalition, I think, doesn't function so harmoniously as it can in Germany or Belgium, as I can know from. So, to answer the question, was it approved formally? I must say it was twice approved, because I had to go around all my colleagues to persuade them and to make to cooperate with them so that they endorse in their fields the policy. And after, there was of course a vote of the municipality. Then about the population, the inhabitants, and the private stakeholders. I have, of course, access to anybody, but I preferred to ask the colleagues in charge, for instance, of housing or of commerce, to make the deals, to find partners that would commit themselves in the respective fields. And in these two fields, well, on housing there is no problem, was with one colleague, so with the social housing partners, for instance, or with others, well, she made a very proactive policy and gained commitments, whereas from my colleague in charge of commerce, whose thought is very simple and I don't criticize it, but it is really, he says it every two sentences, no parking, no business. So you understand that with this colleague it's difficult to hold, the partnership with the activity of commerce, which is the most important activity in Lille, which is a center town. And so, then you have energy weeks and so on, and you will find that some shops will make a competition for go shopping by bicycle, and that it will work, but it's not supported by everybody. Well,
I've been
and last thing, I asked when we approved our sustainable energy action plan to put it on the internet and to have a consultation of the population. And this is not possible. But this is not possible for anything in the municipality. There is you cannot go on the site of the municipality of Lille and give your advice on such or such decision. You can write to the mayor. That's all you can do.
I ask you for a very brief introduction, Jeremy.
Okay, very brief. It's quite ironic in Milton Keynes that the Chamber of Commerce in Milton Keynes went bankrupt earlier in the year.
Hey.
And the local authority has taken over a lot of the responsibilities of maintaining business within the city. And something that I said last night with our colleagues was we follow the money. Everything we do within the council, MK 2050, we see as a business opportunity, and we bring businesses on board. They contribute to our strategies, and basically that's all I want to say, that treat this as a business opportunity. It's not a big stick, it's a big carrot to bring the whole community forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I've been informed that delicious Italian coffee is waiting for us. It's already nice and hot, the sugar's there, the cream's there. So we're going to go there in a moment, but let me just make the most of the opportunity of probably having the only time in my life to be able to sit in this seat in the wonderful city of Modena and conclude some things. So we've learned that basically, if you are lucky enough that your Chamber of Commerce goes bankrupt, okay, that's a good advance for the Imagine project. So let's all work together to bankrupting chambers of commerce all across Europe. Now then, I think one thing that is very important is that we haven't really had time to discuss it as well, is the nature of politics in itself. Politicians in Europe and beyond Europe, I work with politicians from the United States, I work with politicians with the Middle East. They have, when they're talking about these projects, and we here are talking about Imagine, a long-term vision. The word long-term vision is a sentence which I've been hearing since 2007, since I got involved with the Imagine project. So that's almost the last 6-7 years. And what comes across at the same time is the incapacity of a politician, and I am certainly, and this, I look at the camera to make this very clear, I am not talking about the politicians here, who have demonstrated that they are clearly very much involved with a long-term vision. But the political reality across the world is that most politicians, their most important objective is their re-election. Yeah. Politicians like being politicians, and I can understand that. I'm enjoying being in this chair. I'm enjoying having the little bell. Yes, I'm enjoying being there, and most politicians want that. Now then, to continue being politicians, they need to be able to show positive results, visual results, to their electors once every 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, depending on which country they are. But that is something that is a factor which we need to take into account. And the only way to convince that politician that it's a good thing to go into elections with the Imagine project is to also ensure that the Imagine project itself is extremely visual and that there is a consciousness amongst the voters of that city. So therefore, if there's a consciousness, therefore there is the possibility of consensus, and if you have consensus, then you normally guarantee political continuity. But if you don't do that, you are obviating a political reality which unfortunately has existed since the beginning of time. Even Julius Caesar was aware that he needed to create a political consciousness when he was trying to kick Pompey out of Greece. Now then, the next thing, the most important thing which I think has come across here and has come across in all of the debates in many places where Imagine has been discussed over the years is the necessity for transversality. I am an ex-active politician, but I am now also the head of public administrations of the research centers of the universities in Catalonia, in the northeast of Spain. And one thing which is absolutely essential, and it has been mentioned here, Simona was talking about this as well, is the necessity for transversality between different sectors. That is absolutely essential, but not just between the public sector and the private sector. And I think that's a very important point which has come out of today's discussion is the need as well for the incorporation of the section of investigation. In Spain, we're suffering a very heavy crisis. It's been reduced by 40% because the national governments, it's a fairly obscure sector for the general public, so it's a good place to reduce costs in an economic crisis because the majority of the population are not going to notice that. But without the full collaboration between the three pillars of environmental policy, we will never be able to go forward. So we need the research and development sector, we need the private sector, and of course we need the public administrations. And it's something as well that the private sector and the scientific sector must also learn. They must not go to public administrations just to ask for money when they need it. They should go to public administrations to offer support for the continuity of those policies. And then lastly, I am the representative of the European Commission at the moment in the theme of water energy nexus and in the theme of water governance. I'm the leader of the what they call the EIP program from the European Commission. And I'm also been asked by the OECD based in Paris, the Organization of Economic Coordination and Development, Collaboration and Development, to also produce another statement here, which is the following, that the bottom-up approach has been recognized by the European Commission, by the OECD, by the World Bank, and that is what they want. They want transversality between the energy sector, which is represented so well by the work of those cities involved in Imagine, and those cities who are involved in Energy Cities as an association. They want connection with water, and they want connection with public transport. They want transversality. But more than anything, they want a channel of communication between the supranational political institutions, the European Commission, the OECD, the World Bank, and the smallest municipalities, not only in Europe, but also beyond Europe. That is your essential job, is to ensure that there is that communication that gets to the citizen, because the local administrations are the closest administrations to the citizen, to the man in the street. You are the people who, as I said in Munich, have the responsibility, the political responsibility of convincing your population of the need of what Imagine is trying to do. I would like to congratulate all of you on what you have said. I would like to congratulate the city of Modena for organizing this meeting, and I'd also like to congratulate Energy Cities, and in this particular project, Imagine, under Stefan Dupar and his colleague Kinga Kovacs, for having created this atmosphere, which is obviously working, where there's obviously an active exchange in different cities. This sort of event helps to create that consciousness, but we need to extend that, not with just 9 cities, we need to extend that to 25,000 cities, which I'm sure will happen over the next 5 or 6 years. Thank you very much. Congratulations. You all deserve now a very nice Italian coffee.